How is everybody doing today? Hi, Vicky, Karen, Rochelle, Mishi, Mark, Ola. Welcome, Renuka. Thanks for saying hello. Hi, Nancy and Jamie. Good to see you again. I was just setting the intention for our session and activating. I activate Reiki and Sylvana energy that I work with, and channeling that into the session and the live replay. So glad you've been looking forward to it, Jamie. Me too. Hi, Maddie. First time. Welcome back, Liz. We have two Liz's. Liz W, Liz, other Liz. Hi, Andrea. Yeah, I am. Hi, Wendy Lotus. Been a while. Glad to have you join. Yes, so I have also been excited. As always, I'm always excited to be with you. Yes, and also about this topic, which is very near and dear to my heart, soul, consciousness, and being, Michael Singer. So, who all does not know who Michael Singer is? Which we're going to dive into that in this live session today. Yay! We've got, and thank you for, if you are, practicing humility and don't know mind. Speaking up if you don't know. That might be a challenge to the mind for some of you, or not for others. So thank you, Maddie, for sharing that you don't know who Michael Singer is, which that makes me super excited. Welcome, Patriot Lady. Nice to see you again. So before we dive in deeper, for those of you that are new, just introduce myself briefly. And I'm not yawning because I'm tired, so those of you that know me know that. When I channel Reiki, sometimes that happens. So, and I am a Reiki Master Teacher. Hi, Julia. And I am a spiritual life coach. I am an expat. I left the U.S. almost 11 years ago now. I've been in Asia exclusively pretty much 5 years. It's a long damn time. I'm so grateful for what I've created in my life and blessed. Grateful and blessed. So I help people create results in their life if they want to, there's a bug, some kind of bug on my leg. Okay. So I help people create results that are meaningful to them in their lives. If it's internal shifts in their soul, spirit, consciousness, usually around self-compassion, judgment, forgiveness, working with ourselves, because this is really everything external to the inside is created from here. So it's about, I support people in both the goals externally and the soul internally. soul-based coaching and goal-based coaching, and meeting people where they are within that. So I love it. I'm living my purpose. I had a human design reading last night, which I've dived into a bit, but this reading last night was super validating, again, about I'm living into my purpose with what I'm doing. So, yeah. Hi, Martina. Love your wonderful red pop of color as always on your profile pic. Jamie, so right now I'm in Thailand. So the majority of my time has been in Thailand and Bali, basically. With COVID, I was in Thailand exclusively for 3 years without leaving, which for an expat, unless they, have like permanently live somewhere, 3 years is a long time to be somewhere for me. And it was, wonderful and amazing. So, but Thailand and Bali mainly. Yes, so Britt, welcome. Still super happy for you, Britt, and celebrating your new job. It's been just, makes my heart sing. So I help people, career shifts, stepping out into the world differently, working with yourself, mindset, beliefs, goals, actions from a spiritual perspective. So that is what I do. I'm also a Reiki Master Teacher. I also teach people how to do Reiki as well. So hi, Creative. Nice to see you. Yay. So Michael Singer. Woo woo. Hi, EJ. And also, please don't forget to follow me here if you don't already. Would really appreciate that. If you care to give a donation. It's welcomed. You can catch the replays of all of my lives on my YouTube channel. I'll just say that if you care to, and follow me on Facebook, Instagram. So I did make this an event on Facebook, so curious if anyone has heard from there, if you've joined in from hearing about it that way. So welcome, Chris. So Maddie isn't familiar with Michael Singer. Are there any others who don't know who Michael Singer is? Welcome, Anais. And if you do know Michael Singer, please share in the comments what your biggest, how his teachings have impacted you the most. What is most powerful about Michael Singer's teachings that has really made a difference in your life? I would love to hear that. So please share. So we're going to dive into surrender, because that's the main foundation of his teachings. And we're going to talk about, why surrender. We're going to talk about showing up in the world, the mind, and then how. So we're going to talk about the why, the what, the how, and then see where we are on time, on if we might draw a card or do some Reiki or clearing specifically at the end. So we'll just go with the flow and see how it flows. If you have questions, comments, please share. Hello, we have more than one Karen here, so welcome to you, Karen, as well. So Michael Singer is an American man who is probably 70 now, or 60s, 70s. He's written 3 books: The Untethered Soul, The Surrender Experiment, and Living Untethered. I am considering doing a live series here on Insight Timer or possibly on another platform of a book club or a book reading scenario. So if you already know Singer, if you already know me, and you want to do that, send me a message. I know at least one of you has, a couple of you have mentioned interest in that. So yeah, let me know about that. Otherwise, we may just keep it to me doing lives on this topic. Awesome, creative. So he is probably the most powerful example for me of somebody who is in the world but not of the world. He was on the board or the CEO or something of the company that owned and ran WebMD.com. If you're an American, you've heard of WebMD. If you're not, you may have still heard of it. It's like the number one place every American goes when they have a symptom, a health symptom that they want to ask a question about. It's probably $1 billion website, like seriously. So he was in that world. He was in the corporate world. It was his life and also not, because he is a deeply spiritual being. So what I love about just even that small example is he is showing that you don't need to extract yourself from whatever your job is, whatever your life is, if you are living, if you have a quote normal job, etc. You don't have to stop doing that to be a spiritual being, a deeply spiritual being. And he has proven that. So he has 3 books. 2 of them are spiritual, like teaching books. The other one, The Surrender Experiment, is his memoir. I love recommending his memoir to people as just an intro to his teachings, because it's so freaking amazing to hear his life story, and it's mind-blowing about how he was in the world but not of the world. So great. Renuka, hi Samantha, interested, and Wendy Lotus, Patriot Lady, hello Maureen. So let's just dive into what he talks about. So that's a bit about who he is as a person. You can actually go stay at his compound or visit his place where he lives. He has a place where he gives talks on his land. It's called Temple of the Universe. It's in near Gainesville, Florida. So if you feel called, you can explore that. So what is, the main things of what he talks about is it's very Zen-based, Buddhist-based, Hindu-based teachings, where we want to look at our mind and our thinking and our relationship with our mind and our thoughts and the external world. I was listening to him this morning, and his talk was talking about how many times have you gone to a movie and you've completely lost yourself in the movie. You are completely identified with the movie and the story, and you just forget about yourself and your thoughts and your life and even your body for a moment in time. So he equates that, or if you're a gamer, I know I've been a gamer in the past, grew up with Nintendo and beyond. Have you ever had that experience? You lose yourself in the game you're playing. You can lose yourself in a book. And what does that even mean, to lose yourself in it? It means total identification with whatever that is. And that's what happens when we get totally identified with the stream of thinking that's running and never stops. Our mind gets totally focused and identified on that to the exclusion of all else, and we see everything in, our external reality through this filter and this lens. So are you following that so far? And do you see why that's a problem? Hi, Susie. Thank you. And I mean, well, okay, I could ask, why is that a problem? What's the problem with seeing, being identified with your mind and thoughts and seeing everything through the filter of your thinking? If you're new on the path, you might not know. But if you've been around Insight Timer a while, if you've been on the spiritual path a while, you know exactly what the problem is with that. So I listened to this beautiful Michael Singer talk yesterday. Send me a message if you want me to share it with you. He talked about this idea that really stuck with me, how when he's like 70 now or whatever, 60, 70, when he started his journey in his 20s, he used to do this meditation where he would imagine he would go on top of the planet Earth, like in space, and he would imagine that he's sitting on top of the planet and he's separate from it, and he's looking down at it, and he's seeing from the perspective of being outside of this planet. And then he would expand the vision from there and imagine he's outside of the solar system, and on and on. Do you see why that would be helpful? Because what happens when we just get consumed and lost in our thoughts, our vision is, it's just this tiny, pinprick of our perspective. And everything gets magnified in our world. All of our problems, or what our mind creates as problems, become bigger, and we get tunnel vision on me and my problems are the primary focus of our life experience. But when we're living our life that way, we're not in reality. The only reality is that we are here in this moment right now. Past and future do not exist. He was in the talk today I was listening to. He was saying that. Even the atoms, they are only in the present. Past and future don't exist. They just exist as stories and thoughts in the mind. So, do you see the benefit of doing a meditation where you come out of this earth and you look down and you see from a bigger perspective? Michael Singer is really big on perspective. He, in his Living Untethered book, there's a whole chapter on planets, and I think even he might do atoms. I know he does like the macro of like space and planets and the sizes of things. He might even go into the micro of atoms, because that's the reality. And he talks about in his book, like when he was in the corporate world, when he would open a door, before he would pick up a phone to have a business call, he would orient himself in the moment, and he would say, I am on a planet in the middle of nowhere, spinning around in outer space. How important is this? And he made millions and multi-million-dollar, maybe billion-dollar deals by orienting himself in that idea of the truth with a capital T. You know, he talks about how this present moment that we're all in right now and we're sharing is the result of billions of years of forces that have led to the unfolding of this moment. And he says, when you get to a point in your journey where you become so present and so open to the experience of the moment and of life unfolding in front of you, that it's this beautiful dance where you look to see what is being asked of you by the moment in front of you, and that the intention becomes this present moment, how can it leave your awareness blessed better than it came? So when we are trapped in this, we can't see. We have blinders on. So Singer has, you know, a lot of different avenues of things that he teaches, and yet it's also like it's finite. If you've listened to Michael Singer for any length of time, you'll hear him basically saying the same thing over and over, which is great because it's deep spiritual teachings. So this is one element of his teaching. And he says this moment is not personal. What the mind does and the ego does is we experience a moment in front of us and we make it personal when it's not personal, because if we were not in that moment would still be unfolding. The person would still be pulling out in front of us in traffic. We'd still be waiting in a line. Whatever our experience is, the weather, you know, it still will be raining. But yet, what does our mind do? He gives this example. It's your birthday. You wake up and it's raining on your birthday. How many of you can relate to this thought? Like, it sounds so childish, but yet it's a pretty common experience. It's your birthday. You wake up and it's raining. Is there a part of you that's like, why is it raining on my birthday? I love the way, how many of you have heard him and love the way that he talks? And so it's like this moment, the weather, the meteorological forces that have taken place have nothing to do. God, weather does not know it's your birthday, but yet we make it personal. And how ridiculous that is, and bless our hearts, and we get to be compassionate. So what I'm going over is like what the problem is, right? What the problem is with identifying with the mind, with not being in reality, because the only true reality is right here now. So I'm going to recite one of my favorite Michael Singer quote. Well, there's two that are coming to mind. One is from his book, Surrender Experiment. And he says, I've read it so many times and said it, I'm just going to paraphrase it. But he says, what I've learned in my journey of surrender, the most important thing is the process of surrender is done in two very distinct steps. One, you look to see what is being asked of you by the moment unfolding in front of you. You look to see what is being asked by the moment unfolding in front of you. What would you be doing if you weren't being influenced by like and dislike. So you basically remove any preference you have about how you want this moment to be. And if you didn't have that preference of like or dislike, what would you be doing? And you take action or don't take action based on that. So let me know if this is helpful so far. I'm going to pause for a minute. I know there's been some comments come in. Yeah, I feel like this teaching is so dense that I don't want to, break the flow. So we'll pause here for a moment. Hi, Kay, Nikki. I know a number of you have joined and comments have come in. I'm glad to see this is helpful. For some of you. Hi, Lise. Welcome. Sorry to hear about you lost your dad today. So, and that's a great question. And Michael Singer does address that. And he very directly says, if you feel loss, if you feel heartache over losing somebody, that it shows how much you loved them. And it's okay. So, my invitation to you and to anyone who is dealing with, deep, heavier things, grief and loss, etc., that you take what you like from the teachings and leave the rest. Michael Singer's teachings are amazing, and they are absolute truth, in my opinion, or at least as much as we can know with our limited human understanding. And also, you want to meet yourself where you are. If you've never heard any of this before and it doesn't resonate in this moment, fine, that's okay. If it deeply resonates, take it on. Experiment. His book is called Surrender Experiment. Hi, Jennifer. Nice to see you. And thank you, Susie, for your words that this is helpful. So if you are joining, don't forget to follow me. You can catch the replays on my YouTube channel of this and all my talks. Follow me there, all the places, all the things. Reach out if you want to talk about the possibility of working together. I'm pretty much full, almost full with my coaching practice, which is amazing and a good problem to have. It's not a problem, but yeah, so I do have limited availability there if you feel called. Hi, Annette. The question, hi, Ginger. I think you said something earlier. I think I missed some comments. Okay, there. Now I'm scrolling back down. Yeah, the meditation about just zooming out from our limited perspective. So, yes, Ginger, actually, I'm going to pull up the literal quote from the Michael Singer book because that will deliver it more succinctly than my my memory is doing right now. So, this is from the chapter Following the Invisible into the Unknown. The Surrender Experiment is the name of the book by Michael Singer. By that stage of my growth, I could see that the practice of surrender was actually done in two very distinct steps. First, You let go of the personal reactions of like and dislike that form inside your mind and heart. And second, with the resultant sense of clarity, you simply look to see what is being asked of you by the situation unfolding in front of you. What would you be doing if you weren't being influenced by the reactions of like or dislike? Following that deeper guidance will take your life in a very different direction from where your preferences would have led you. This is the clearest I can explain my surrender experiment, and it became the foundation of both my spiritual and worldly life. So if anyone wants that quote, you can reach out one-on-one. So, Nikki, what does he say about quiet mind? Can you share a bit on that? Hi, Deb. So I'm just going to tune in here and see where I'm being led to go next. Okay, so, hi Kiana. Participate with a quiet mind and an open heart. Okay. So, where I'm feeling led to go now is a subject that he talks about a lot as well. So we talked about the mind, how it gets totally identified, and then we lose ourselves in that identification. And basically when that happens, we're in illusion and delusion. So he talks about having different experiences. And he talks about this example of a rattlesnake and a butterfly. So he gives an example of, say, you're with some people in nature and walking and you see, oh, there's these beautiful butterflies and they're so beautiful. And one of them landed on my arm, and look at the colors. Imagine how you feel in that experience. You're present, you're open, you're appreciative of this experience, this magical moment with the butterfly. Notice in that your heart would be open, would be totally open, unguarded, unless you've had past negative experiences with butterflies. You could also apply that to seeing a sunset or having what's called a peak experience, your wedding day. I mean, that would be a bigger experience than a butterfly, but we could categorize these together as peak experiences where our heart is totally open. Does this make sense? So, the butterflies on my arm. Oh, we're just totally present and open. Say you continue walking. There's a rattlesnake. My friend and I, Alicia Bliss, who has been on my lives and who is a fellow Insight Timer teacher now, who's here with me in Thailand, we have had 2 snake experiences since we've been together, one in Bali and one just the other day here. A snake was randomly right near us, and it actually struck at her bag that was over her shoulder. It was wrapped around this thing, and we didn't see it. And it just was like in a flash. We didn't even know what happened, thank God, because it struck the bag. And then we're like, oh my gosh, snake. But you can imagine if it was a butterfly landing on the bag versus a snake striking at the bag on your shoulder, would you have a different experience? So the bag was like kind of almost brushed against the snake on this thing. Yeah. So in the same way, we can look at a butterfly experience, a sunset, a trip, a travel experience, a wedding, anything like that. We're going to be open. But the minute, rattlesnake, we close. So this is where Singer talks about we're open or we're closed. Our heart is open. And we've seen many beautiful butterflies. They have this black butterfly with these like turquoise pieces of the wings. I mean, in the US, we don't have that butterfly there. Thank you, Ginger. Yeah. So, versus the snake. What happens in our energy field? What happens inside when we see the snake? We close, for very simple terms. We close our heart. We close to that experience. Or say you see something horrible, whatever, out in the world, we close. Singer says that we have internal hands inside of us. In the butterfly experience, we want more. We're wanting to grasp and cling and bring that closer inside of us energetically. When we have a rattlesnake experience, we want to push it away. We want to close and push away. We don't want it. We don't like it. The feelings inside based on the outer experience. And that's a good side point. Ginger, actually, we did regard the snake from a distance after, and it was fine. And also, it's a good analogy of just a general example of a symbol, a butterfly, a rattlesnake. So we open or we close. So this is where surrender comes in. To where that same open-heartedness, that same presence that we bring to the butterfly experience or the peak experience, we apply to the rattlesnake experience. I mean, maybe not in the moment where you're in survival and you need to protect your body, right? But is appropriate to the situation, because this is an analogy. That you don't close against the experience. You don't contract. You don't resist. You don't push away the energy inside. There's an energy that rises up, and we push it down with our internal hands. Can you all relate to this? So a very good example of this happened last night on the phone. I live in Asia. I have to call business hour stuff in the US, at very inconvenient times for my mind. So I had fraudulent charges on my credit card. They said they would be back in my account, and they're not. I got the wonderful runaround, call my bank. They transfer me to the fraud bank place. They transfer me back. Then they hang up, and then it was like an hour, 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. Whew. I could really feel that frustration energy in the heart. And so the invitation is, and that's something easy. Singer says we have he has a PhD or almost a PhD in economics. He's very smart. So he uses this idea of cost benefit analysis. What's the cost and the benefit? He says there's 0% benefit and 100% cost when we argue with the moment in front of us and we resist it. So I have to take care of this situation at night. It is what it is. I got rooted around and whatever. It's a 0% benefit for me to have an opinion about that because it is what it is. It's a 100% cost, 0% benefit. Does that make sense? So this is where the how-to of surrender comes in. This is how you do it. You notice. You all are here in Insight Timer. You're at a certain level of your journey that you would be here and that you would even be here to hear this. So next time, notice there's an energy arising in your field. It doesn't feel good. I mean, even as I talk about the bank thing last night, I feel it. I feel that shit energy. I did my best. But you first have to notice it's there. Interesting, Ginger. Yeah, so that's also a great example. So, and that's kind of a different part of his teachings. He talks about samskaras. Samskaras are impressions where if we don't let something move through us, it gets stored inside. And for me, with this bank example, I've had almost 11 years of having to call places, the bank, at an inconvenient time. How many of you have energy around calling credit card companies or customer or like insurance company? I mean, all of that. How many of you have an energy when you think of that from the past besides me? I know I'm not the only one. So when we resist the present moment as it is, that gets stored inside. I had experiences about being on the phone with the bank and it's late, whatever. There was an energy. So first is you notice. Notice that energy coming up without judgment. I knew, even when I was like, oh my gosh, I need to call, even before I called, that energy came up. And so this is where the teachings come in and the practices come in. I saw, even before I called, there was an energy of frustration, of whatever. And in that moment, I knew I had a choice. I had a choice in how I was going to interface with that situation, regardless of the outcome. I could choose to go in with resistance. Oh my God, blah, 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 story and identification with the mind based on past experience, being in resistance, not liking the experience. I could choose that, or I could choose to be like, here is the perfect place for me to practice. I can't control what happens on this phone when they answer, how long I'm on hold, if they're friendly, whatever. I have no control over that. The only thing I can control is my response. But first, I have to be aware of what's going on inside, which I have enough of that awareness. So I noticed that. I chose, okay, I'm going to do my best to relax and release, to be present, to be with the sensations, regardless of how long I'm on hold, what anyone says, where I get transferred to, etc. So what Singer says is, so going back to the rattlesnake and the butterfly, we're totally open with the butterfly. We close with the rattlesnake. That we get to apply the same attitude, the exact same level of complete openness that we have with the butterfly, we get to apply that to the rattlesnake. People say, I've asked him, like, what's your biggest secret of your teaching, if you could distill it down into one thing? He says, don't ever close. That's it. Meaning your heart, your energy field here, meaning resist. Don't ever close. So simple, not easy. So the invitation is, when in start, he gives the example of low hanging fruit. You don't start with, as Lise brought in, they lost their father today. Unless you're already very practiced in the teachings, you don't start with that. I mean, you can practice with that, but where you start is low hanging fruit. The stuff where it's a 0% benefit and a 100% cost if you resist. So he says traffic and weather. And I would add in calling customer service of any kind in the US, or probably most places. There is a 0% benefit to having any sort of a frustration about it. It doesn't benefit, it doesn't help traffic. He always says the driver in front of you that's slow, or somebody pulls out in front of you. There's no benefit to have any opinion about it at all, or to allow frustration or anger to take over. It doesn't do anything. All it does is have a 100% cost to you and your inner peace, and you create your own suffering. The other one is the weather. There's 100%, we're powerless over the weather, pretty much. 100%, we cannot control the weather unless you're a special person, etc. So when you wake up and you see it's raining, it's sunny, it's too hot, it's too cold, there's a 0% benefit to having an opinion or an energy about that at all, right? And a 100% cost. So the invitation with these things, you start with, he says you practice your scales. Just like you learn to play piano, you don't start playing Beethoven. You don't sit down for the first time at a piano and start playing Beethoven. You sit down and you start with scales. So these are your scales: traffic, weather, customer service, waiting in a line that you have to wait in. Those are your scales. Once you've started mastering scales, then you're given a harder piece of music, and he says you don't need to go looking for things to surrender to or to deal with. He says the universe will bring you the perfect things at the perfect time. If something bigger, it will come. Don't worry. So how do you do it? How do you work with yourself? How do you surrender? We can talk about ABC, but information is not the same as experience. You get to practice it with information to the best of your ability. But it's basically not ever closing. Applying the energy of, oh my God, a beautiful rainbow. I'm seeing, a sunset, your wedding day, if you had a positive experience there, whatever, birth of a child, first time holding your baby, completely open. Applying that openness to experiences where you want to close. So he says basically it's relax and release, R&R. So how do you do it? So I know there's been some comments come in. I'll read back over those in a minute. If you can identify with any of these things where you feel that constriction, that contraction, that resistance, you notice it, you relax. He says, you don't relax it, you relax. You relax your shoulders. You relax your body. You relax to the best of your ability, like your chest or your abdomen, your belly, your back. Like you relax your body. You relax around this energy. You let it be. You let that ickiness be. You don't even need to label it. You just get to notice it. You relax. He even says you relax behind it. So have any of you had that experience? And this is very subtle. Like the energy body is a subtle body. This is very subtle. So I can feel into that relaxing behind. That some of you may or may not be there. But you relax behind it. You witness it, you observe it as an experience. You let it be. You relax and release. Let go. Surrender. You let it be. Let go of attachment, desire, fear. You let go of trying to cling or push away with these internal hands. You relax and release. You come out of the mind. Don't listen to anything the mind has to say in the moment when there's an activation, because it's not going to be helpful. Because if your heart, if the energies are activated, then they're going to influence your mind in a not great way. Don't pay attention to the mind. And he says, it's none of your business what the mind's thinking. None of your business. I call him the spiritual Toughlove guy sometimes. It's awesome because he says stuff like that. It's none of your business what the mind's thinking. None of your business. That's how he says it. Come out of the mind, come into the heart. And then the mind will say, how long is this going to take? Say you do it for 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute. It's not gone yet. How long is it going to take? None of your business. Your most important and only job is to be with the sensations that are here, that are in your awareness, taking your attention. So basically he says, I mean, then this is higher level. You've got to let go of the outside world. You've got to let go of the expectation that it is going to do anything for you. You've got to let go of the outside world, either, getting something from it or not wanting something in it. What gets to shift is the most important thing, and he says this too. The most important thing in your life is to be conscious of this internal experience ahead of anything else in your life, period. It doesn't mean you don't take care of what you need to in the external world, but you come from a place that you're starting with your inner world. Because if you try and change something out here or get something from out here to change something in here, it's never going to work. You've already been doing that, he says. You've already been doing that your whole life. How well has that worked for you? I think everyone can probably agree it doesn't work very well because it's conditional. So if you're serious about this, about ending your suffering, I mean, this is the answer. You've got to let go of the external world, of placing conditions on the external world to fill or change something inside. Very simple, not easy. I'm nowhere near it. So the most important, like even on the phone last night, I had the awareness, there's this shitty feeling. Me being with, relaxing and releasing, being present, being compassionate, releasing judgment, that I have the feeling, all of those things, relaxing and releasing around this energy in my body is far more important than anything that's happening about the phone and how long I'm on hold and what they're saying and what the outcome is. That's not important. As important, I'll say, as the most important thing is my internal world. So, let me know if this is helpful. I'm going to look back at these comments now. Please follow me if you have joined in. Hi, Petra. And you don't already, please give a donation if you feel called to. So lots of resonance. And thank you about, hoping this fraud situation gets resolved. I trust that it will. It's just, the mind has a story that it's not happening on the timeline that my mind made it up to be based on what they told me, 15 business days. Now it's 60 days. I can't change that. So it does no good. There's a 0% benefit for me having an opinion about it. Ginger, so you worked with the snow. Totally great example. Kiana, so traffic, going to work. So the other thing is, I talk about this a lot. Einstein says the most important question you can ask yourself, do I live in a friendly universe? If you live in a friendly universe, what does that mean? It means that everything is conspiring to help you. Even me with the fraud happening, and even me on the phone last night, that's conspiring to help me because it is showing me what's still unhealed in here, the energy that I've stored and pushed down that's ready to be healed. These experiences are happening to bring that up so I can shine the light of loving awareness, relaxing and releasing, surrendering, because it's ready to be healed. So Kiana, the invitation for you with traffic is, oh, what a perfect container for me to practice surrender. This is why, this is coming up for me. I put a thing on my story yesterday, a Ram Dass quote. So if you don't already, if you want inspiration, follow me on Facebook and Instagram. So listen to this. It says, "You took birth here because you had certain work to do. This is your curriculum. It's not an error. Where you are now, with all of your neuroses and your problems, you're sitting in just the right place." So you can see that this is all happening for your perfect evolution. You're given the things in your life because it's perfect for you. We don't know why. We're not source. We're not God. We can trust. So that reminds me too of the book Conversations with God. It talks more about the deeper subjects of existence, and we will be doing a live next week on that. I'm super excited. It'll be the first time. And I'm also considering doing a book reading live, something around Conversations with God, because it's such a beautiful and deep and intense and life-changing text. So follow me so you get notified of when that's coming up. Jamie had the power out, weather happening. So some of you, Jennifer, are working with the weather. So the books, let's see. Kiana, the name, there's 3 Michael Singer books. The Surrender Experiment is his memoir. Then his teaching books are Untethered Soul and Living Untethered is the newest one. So if you want to express interest in a book club offering, I'm going to see what's here. If that's interesting to you, send me a message. And we may do it here or somewhere else. I don't have clarity on that yet, but I do feel some, I love this. I love his teachings. So I feel called to see what's here as an experiment. Thank you, Liz, for the donation. Yeah, Nikki talking about a reaction, feeling bad after. So that's what's called, the Buddhist calls the second arrow. So the first arrow that comes in is actually the thing we react to. Then the second arrow is the judgment we have about how we reacted or responded. So the key is to notice the second arrow and then work with ourselves, letting ourselves off the hook, not judging ourselves for the way we handled the experience. So these are deep practices and teachings. Thank you, Ginger, for your explaining activation. Britt found out a dear friend has breast cancer. Feeling shocked and sad. Definitely can appreciate that. And life is fragile. So that's another big thing about Singer's teachings. When, he talks about doing a meditation where you come up out of this planet and you're seeing the world from above. He's like, it's good to remind yourself multiple times a day, you're going to die soon. It's a very Buddhist teaching. A couple times a day, orient yourself. I'm on a planet spinning in the middle of nowhere, and I'm going to die soon. Because it's the absolute truth. We are here for a split second. Like, we're here, we see like ants, or we see, butterflies or fireflies. They live like 24 hours or something like that. That's how we are on a cosmic scale. So it's not about morbidity, it's about orientation, so we don't believe this movie and get lost in this movie of everything is a big deal. Traffic, being on the phone with customer service, it feels like the biggest thing ever. So it's about perspective. So, Patriot Lady, yes, metta. Yeah, and bringing in about reparenting the inner child when that feeling comes up is another wonderful way to work with ourselves. Y'all know I'm a huge advocate of inner child healing, and I'm doing it myself, and I, bring that in with my coaching and my teachings as well. Kiana, great question about remembering that we're all going to die soon. It's not death is the only thing that's inevitable. So it's not about manifesting it. It's about noticing the reality in the scheme of time and of, like Carl Sagan. Have any of you read or seen Cosmos, the old PBS special, or even the new remake? Well, it's 10 years old, but I prefer the original. He has, and you can look this up on YouTube, he has it's amazing. He has this calendar of 1 year, 365 days, and he puts the timeline of like the creation of the universe according to the Big Bang Theory in a 365-day calendar, okay? So day 1, minute 1 is the Big Bang, and the end of the calendar is like now. So if you put time into that, like in whatever, if you orient it into that, like nothing happens on Earth for like the first 6 or 9 months of this calendar for like billions of years. And basically the point is that humans came onto this calendar in like the last minute of this 365-degree calendar. And even modern day humanity with all our technology is like the last 30 seconds or 5 seconds of this calendar. So do you see why that would be helpful to remember? It then makes everything, it's true. It's just truth. So then it makes like, the person pulled out in front of me, not such a big deal, or even bigger stuff. You work with yourself where you're at. So does that help? Yeah, we're in a borrowed body. We are not the body. Now the thing is, we are infinite beings having this experience, and that's where Conversations with God really dives in, and I love it so much. So yeah, we can go into that in that talk next week, I think it is. Well, Kiana, it's not about repeating over and over, or we're going to die soon. Singer says a few times a day, right? Just orienting yourself. And if you go into like really deep Buddhist teachings, it goes way deeper than that. It's about non-attachment, right? And about perspective. Because it can actually bring us peace. So, yeah. So I'm going to pause here. We've gone over an hour now, and we'll wrap up. So really appreciate all of you being here. I love it. I'm so passionate about this because, we teach what we most need to know. And I definitely get to practice this. So yeah, if you want to dive deeper, and then how can this change your life? How can this affect your life? How can you live from a place of surrender? And like I said, Michael Singer was head of $1 billion company. So he was not participating in this world. He was of this world and in this world, or not of the world. So let me know if this was helpful, what your takeaways were. So, Patriot Lady, I've never done a book club before. I love the surrender experiment because of the story of it. And also, I feel like maybe one of his other books would be a better maybe format to have like a book club experience about, because it's teachings. So so I'm open. So send me a message, reach out here, anywhere on my website, whatever, Facebook, Instagram, subscribe to my YouTube, all that good stuff. Give a donation if you'd like. If you want to dive deeper into what this means for you in your life, and you want to take things to the next level, reach out and apply to see if we'd be a good fit for coaching together. I also do Reiki training. So yeah, feel into what's there. This has been so fun. Love it. Thank you all. And this is not easy. It's simple. There's a big distinction. And it's just like an experiment. Try it on. Start with the next time somebody pulls out in front of you, or you're on the phone on hold, or you notice something that's just super trivial. He doesn't say start with a friend, your father dying, or finding out a good friend has breast cancer. You can, and also start where you are. Like the piano example, that's Mozart. If you're sitting down at the piano for the first time, you start with scales, traffic, weather. If you're being presented with an opportunity to play Mozart, do your best. Yeah, and this is why I love being immersed in his teachings, because it's a reprogramming, right? So I'm so grateful for all of you. Thank you all. Yeah, so Britt, I'll just give one last offering for that experience for you, because it's about, breast cancer, what is it? 1 out of 3 people get it, some form of cancer. That's really scary odds. What's the percentage of people that are going to die? 100% out of 100%. And also, how it's going to happen is why the cancer is scary for us, most all of us. So the mind, there's something in the experience. Oh my gosh, somebody near to me that I care about is having this thing that I was already afraid of at some moment. Here it is in my experience. Now I'm worried about my own mortality, right? Which totally makes sense. We all do that, unless you're Michael Singer or some enlightened being. So, what I said earlier, if you really want to practice this with that and just doing your best as an experiment and knowing you're going to be messy. I mean, Singer, I would imagine he would say you come out of the mind and into your heart. Now, if this has been running for hours or days, there's momentum built. It's easiest when the moment it happens to practice this, but you just do your best. So noticing the worry, there's that pattern again. Okay, I am choosing to practice relax and release right now. And what that means is, okay, I have sensations in my body, in my energy field, in my heart, wherever you feel that. Come into the body, into the present moment to the best of your ability, feeling the sensations. When the mind is but worry, whatever the stories are, I'm not going to pay attention. Thank you. I'm not interested. Thank you. I appreciate you, mind. You're trying to help me. I've got this. I'm going to do my own thing. You do your own thing. I'm not going to pay attention right now in this split second of a moment. I'm going to come into my body. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to orient myself to this moment. What's happening here right now? Look around the room. Name things. Feel the feet on the floor. Take a breath. Feel into, be curious about what's happening in the heart, in the body. Open to it. Act like it's a butterfly. This experience. Singer says, throw it a party. Yay, something's coming up to be healed. This is an invitation. Even this, yes, this, and you're ready for it because it's what's happening. And then when the mind comes in, blah, 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 worry. Thank you. I'm not interested right now. I'm coming into my heart. The heart is an orchestra. Appreciating the richness of the orchestra, all of the instruments, all of the energies, all of the sounds. I mean, Singer says with loss, with death, with grief, he's like, appreciate the heart is feeling. It means you care. So not allowing your consciousness to get identified with the stream of worry and thinking to the best of your ability and coming back into your present moment experience in the body. I mean, you already know this, and we all know the simplicity of it. So it's about, you, and it also can be about your mindset of commitment. I am going to use this to practice relax and release to the best of my ability. Great one, Ginger. Yeah, I mean, we just do our best with where we're at and what we have. Nancy, I get that. And here we are now, and here you are now. So, hi, Louise. So we will end here. Wishing you all love and gratitude. Thank you for being here. I will see you all very soon. So you can see my schedule of lives and catch the replays if you wish. Thank you all so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.